In this video, we're going to show you how to install a fuel pump strainer on your Ford Mustang located inside your gas tank. Underneath the hood, you're going to locate the fuse box here just in front of the shock tower. You're going to open that up, and on the front corner here, you're going to find a 20 amp fuse. This belongs to the fuel pump in the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out using a pair of pliers. I'm just going to pop that on top of the battery and close that down. Now at this point here, I'm going to hop into the vehicle, turn the key, and I want to start it. At this point here, the fuel system has been depressurized, so it's going to be safe for us to open the fuel lines. Using a 13mm wrench, we're going to go ahead and loosen our ground terminal, pop that off, and set that aside. Open up the gas cap door. I'm going to open up the gas cap itself. And you would normally have three 10mm bolts here. Ours is missing one right here. But we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove these. Go ahead and set those bolts aside. I'm going to go ahead and just tuck a rag in that. Inside the trunk area, I want to go ahead and pull up and remove our spare tire cover. Set that aside. On the forward portion here, there's going to be a plastic trim bezel. We're going to use our trim tool, and we want to pop out the buttons that are holding this in place. Pull that off. Behind the taillight area, you're going to find a little screw-in unit here. This is designed to hold a cargo net. I want to go ahead and unscrew this, turning that counterclockwise. And do the same for the passenger side. Once you have those off, go ahead and grab that panel, pull it up and out of the vehicle. I'm just going to throw these back on to the studs for now. Now with the passenger side liner pulled forward, there's going to be 3 bolts here holding the filler neck, grommet, and everything in place. I want to go ahead, loosen, and remove those. We're using our 8mm socket to remove these. I'm just going to use a trim tool to get underneath the rubber here. Pop that up to release that. On the passenger side of the gas tank, you're going to find a 10mm bolt here. This holds the strap securing the filler neck to the side of the tank. Loosen and remove that. On the bottom side of your fuel filler neck, there's a rubber hose here. I'm going to use my hose pliers. I want to twist and pull this off. There's another line right here. I want to go ahead and pop off. I want to undo this lock. So you're gently going to get behind the clip, pull that clip forward, and then I want to go ahead and separate this from the filler neck. Make sure you don't lose that locking clip. I'm going to use my pick here, and I'm going to go ahead and separate this harness from this little retainer. I want to go ahead and separate these 2 connectors. I'm going to use the pick to press in here and pull this apart. On the back side of the tank here, we're going to loosen and remove this 13mm bolt. Now we have a gas tank jack underneath supporting this. Go ahead and let that hinge drop down. Just over to the other side, we have another bolt here for this strap. Let's do the same. Just behind the bumper, we're going to find on the right-hand strap, there's another bolt here. remove the two buttons here. Now the strap has a pin that's going across, creates a T here for the hanger. Now there's a hole on either side. On the inboard side, it's a larger hole. You can go through the other side here and push the pin out and go ahead and remove that strap. Now at this point, we're going to lower our tank just a little bit so we can gain access to the top side. Now with the tank lowered down a little bit, we can go ahead and push it over towards the driver's side and wiggle our filler neck out a little bit. Go ahead and rotate this here. Now with the filler neck disconnected, lower this down just a little bit, and we want to look on top to check for any other hoses that are still connected. Now on the front side of our tank, top portion here, there's a vent tube right here, and it has little plastic retainer tabs on it. We want to pinch these here and separate this line like so. Now on the top of the fuel tank here, we have our fuel line coming in, and there's a metal retainer clip right here. We want to pop this off. And this is a safety lock. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver to go ahead and lift this lock up. Now on the top here, we have our high pressure fuel line. We're going to use our high pressure fuel line release tool. And you might have a little bit of fuel left in this line, so you want to be careful. Go ahead and slide that line off. And there's a little bit of gas dribbling out. So we're just going to get a rag and tuck that up in there. Slowly lower the tank down. You want to watch for any other hoses that might be connected. And we have a vent tube right here. It's already disconnected at the other end, but it's going to help us work a little bit easier up on the top. So just pull that out of the rubber. I'm going to grab this here, and you want to grab it and pull it firmly back, but be careful not to break that port. We're going to remove our vent line here and set this aside. Go ahead and lower our tank. Now let's go ahead and lift up our tank, set that aside, and this is going to leave our plastic skid plate behind. We want to go ahead and make sure that we install this back onto our tank on reassembly. Now on our fuel pump, we have an electrical harness that comes around, and we need to separate it from here. Ours has some factory tape on here just to seal everything up. So we're going to go ahead and cut that tape off so we can gain access to that connector. Now I'm going to use a pick, and I'm going to go underneath. I'm going to release this locking tab right here. Gently lift up on that. Grab that connector and pop that off. So now both of our connectors are separated. We're going to remove the 5/16 bolts around the top of the fuel pump sending unit. Before we remove our pump and sending unit, use some compressed air and clean up the debris around here, the dirt, anything like that. We don't want anything falling inside the tank and contaminating the fuel inside. Remove your bolts. Before we pop this out, you want to have a bucket or something to go ahead and put the old unit into. Now once you gain access inside here, there's going to be two tabs. You're going to pinch these. They act as locks to hold the pump and sending unit in place. So you're going to reach in, pinch, and pull up. I'm just trying to get our unit up here with our float. It takes a little bit of work to do this, but you're going to tilt this up and then put that into your bucket. On the bottom of your fuel pump canister here is your fuel sock or strainer. You want to go ahead and grab that and just gently wiggle that back and forth and pop that off. Go ahead and take the new one and you want to go ahead and line that up. Press it up into place, making sure that it is fully secured and seated all the way around. You want to make sure that when this is installed that the strainer does not stick out further than the bottom of the canister. At this point here, you're all set to install the fuel pump module. Now when we install our unit here, we want to make sure that the sock itself goes down underneath this tab inside here. We're going to go ahead and drop our gasket in place. Now on the gasket there are 4 little nubs that point upward. These are going to line up with the fuel pump itself, or the fuel pump lid. Go ahead and drop our module down inside. Push that down, line up our lock tabs, snap that into place. You want to go ahead and line up your gasket now. And if you notice that there was one of the bolt holes here, and then the nub is here. On this one here, it's a little bit further away, so the gasket does line up a particular way. Make sure that your fuel line is facing straight towards the back. Get those lines down inside. Pop our gasket up into place here. Tuck those wires down inside. Position this. Now we're going to go ahead and torque these down to 89 inch-pounds or 7.4 foot-pounds. I'll just go back to the first one here. There we go. I want to connect our harness here. snap that on. Let's go ahead and lower our tank into the plastic skid plate here. I'm gonna raise this up. Now we have the tank tilted a little bit. We want to get our filling that kind of lined up with this here. Now at this point here, we'll pull this down. And want to slide our tank over and slide the filling neck into the tank. So I'm going to have some assistance. I'm going to have someone push on the tank, bringing it inward, and I'm going to guide this into the tank through the rubber grommet. I want to be careful not to break this plastic check valve here on this unit. Now I'm going to spray a little bit of solvent over here onto the plastic. That's going to help this slide in. Okay, we are now in place. So we can go ahead and jack up the tank a little bit and level that off. Going to install our vent tube up and over. Let's install this here. Push that on. Take your vent tube, press that on. Now we're going to install our high pressure fuel line. We're actually going to line that up with the metal port on the tank. And we want to push that on. With that snapped into place, we're going to take our lock collar here. Install the back. I'm going to rotate us here. There we go. We have our snap lock into place there. Let's go ahead and install our vapor line here. Line that up and pop that in. Now we have these properly routed. We have one of the vent tubes underneath the fuel line, and then the vent tube that runs all the way over to the other side to the fuel filler neck area runs above the fuel line. Raise up your tank into position. You want to make sure that none of your hoses or lines are bound up anywhere. So you're going to walk around the tank and just make sure everything is connected properly, routed properly. Everything looks good. Connect the harness here. Use your trim tool to pop out the retainer button here. We have our pin here. We did clean this up. Line this up, feed the pin through. Now we can go ahead and bring that strap up and put the bolt on the front side. Now we did clean up the threads and we put some ADC's compound on the threads. Go ahead and get that started. and lower our jack and set that aside. Now we have our locking collar right here. Go ahead and install the screw. You may or may not have to persuade this bend a little bit to get this to line up. If you need to, just use a pair of pliers for it. We're going to install our vent tubes here. And once these are in, let's go back up top. You want to go ahead and install your 3 screws here. Ours is missing one, so we're just going to install the 2 that we have. Go ahead and install your gas cap. And close the door. Go ahead and install the screws on the seal here into the trunk. Go ahead and snug these down. Go ahead and push this back into place. I'm going to remove these plastic retainers here. We just popped them into place. Once these come out, install the interior liner. And then reinstall the retainers here. Once that's in, just snug that down. Repeat for the other side. Good, line that up. And just repeat for the remainder of these. Go ahead and put in your spare tire cover. Close the trunk. Open up the fuse box. Reinstall that 20 amp fuse for the fuel pump. Connect the ground terminal on the battery and go ahead and tighten that down. So once you tighten this up, you want to hop into the vehicle. Turn that ignition key 2 times to cycle it to get that pump to push fuel from the tank to the engine. Start it up. At that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.